Since Star Wars came out in the late 1970s, death by impalement has increased to its highest level since the Middle Ages. And in order to acknowledge this statistic, I'm going to teach you how to draw a hand holding a sword. My tutorial will be a lot safer than the tomfoolery that you're witnessing right now, and it's going to feature another phallic object, a pencil. So put down your shield and sword, and pick up a pencil and some paper. After all, if you lose your hand sword fighting, you can't press play to watch your favorite movie, Star Wars. Let's begin. Step 1. Draw the rectangle. Step 2. Draw the trapezoid under the rectangle. Step 3. Add the curvy thingies at the bottom of the sword. Step 4. Add the shapes for the thumb and the pointer finger. The thumb is the shape that is on top. Step 5. Add the handle for the sword and the 3 remaining fingers. Step 6. Add the curvy thingy at the bottom of the sword. Notice that the handle and the curvy thingy are about the same height as the shapes from steps 1 and 2. Step 7. Add the trapezoid shape. Step 8. Add the shape for the wrist. Step 9. Complete the sword shape. Step 10. Add the line in the sword. Hey, welcome everybody to the shading tutorial, and what I recommend for you for best practices is just watch this one time through and then go back to the beginning of the shading part and then shade along with me and pause it at different points. As you can see, what I'm doing is I am trying to tackle the most difficult part first, and that is that curve to the fingers. It's kind of dark in tones as it goes over towards the left, and the fingertips are really going to be a little bit more illuminated. You're going to see me switch switch the tones of the fingernails, because if you look at them, you really can't see those dark lines. I put them in just so that you can see where they go when I put them in, but you're going to really see me blend that. I'm going to push down the tone of that and neutralize that. But for the most part, I use just a regular number 2 pencil for this. And that's HB pencil if you have a drawing set. The black pencil that you're seeing me use right now, that's a 7B pencil, and really the only places that I used that was for the handle and at the bottom. And when I really want to get those dark effects, also up on top of the sword. But I'm putting that in, and I'm using it very sparingly because I want that to be the darkest tone. Leave the highlight areas at the end of the sword and above the hand on the sword as blank as possible. Those are going to be our lightest tones. So you want to make sure, like even the fingers, you don't want that to be as light as the lightest tone, or those 2 highlights on the metal. Right next to that in tone, in terms of light tones, is that white area going up the sword that goes along the line that we put into the sword. So we want to plan that into our shading to that. I want to give you an early heads up to that. But the fingernails, those are going to be lighter, but more towards a neutral tone compared to those highlight areas of the sword. We want to shape the hand. There's a very neutral to dark shadow that's going on at the bottom of the hand, the palm area, lower palm. And then there's a darker shadow that goes down the wrist and across the forearm. And we're going to shade that not quite as dark as, the edge at the bottom, but that's relatively dark. It's about as dark as the palm, maybe a little bit darker. You want your drawing to have a little bit more shape. Right now it's dark. The one that you're looking at me do right now is dark, but I'm going to fix that with the eraser, as you're seeing me do right now. You want to add a little bit extra shape to it because, right there you kind of see an edge on the top and it just ends flat. It's okay to go a little bit darker along the top, I would say. There's nothing that is really drastic in tone other than maybe the handle of the sword. That is extreme dark, and right next to that is the knuckle area. I mean, you can't really see the actual knuckles of the fist, but you can see, the middle bones of the hand, that are wrapping around the handle of the sword. You want those to be dark, but of course not quite as dark as the handle. This drawing I spent about 40 minutes on. I would not recommend spending any less time on that unless if you're like super amazing shader, but it's got real subtleties to it. Like there's those neutral tones that are very close to each other but not quite the same, and that's what you have to master for this one. So you really have to look at the reference image. I recommend putting it on full screen. That will be very helpful, and make sure that you do that. The sword, that gets a little bit tricky. I used a graphite stick at the top. That's what I'm using right there. And that just allows me to work faster. That was a 9B graphite stick. I just put that in, and then I hatch over it with the regular pencil. I treated the top, the side on the other half, not half, on the other side of the highlight a little bit differently. That stick can be very clumsy, so I kind of used a 7B pencil as well as a regular 2B pencil. But I guess the most important thing for this is, see that highlight and see what happens to the edge. The edge is very soft as it gets down towards the fist, compared to the top where it's a very, very hard edge. I'm using the paintbrush to kind of like smooth out the little white marks in there. And now I'm about to go into finishing touches mode. When I go into finishing touches mode, I do one thing. I look at the edges and I start to compare the edges. Are the edges hard? Are the edges soft? And then I ask myself, how can I mimic those edges using the tools that I have, the eraser, the pencil, the paintbrush, the blending stump, and I use all of those together to mimic edges. I'm sorry about the glare. You can't really see the true tones to this because of the graphite. The graphite gets very shiny, but you can always use the reference image in addition to my shading. You just have to use your imagination a little bit with my shading because it's very very slippery, and with that with the slipperiness comes the shininess. Now that we are in the final 30 seconds of the video, I'll tell you, you want to use a kneaded eraser to just kind of like work around the edges, sharpen everything. I think you can see right there that I went back with the graphite stick to get rid of those white marks. Just put on the finishing touches, look at it from a distance, that will help you. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check out my 6 other step-by-step hand videos, and there are certainly more coming in the future. So please take a second to rate this video, and you can leave me comments, ask questions. I try to answer as many of those as I can, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. I've got over 250 instructional videos on my channel, and I am just barely scratching the surface. I want to get so many more out there to you guys, and it's all driven by your comments. So please take a second to rate, comment, interact with me. I usually wind up responding. Thanks for watching, everybody.